So if you look in the
I
book...
don't know if you're being sarcastic.
No, I'm not sarcastic at all, because Abraham was given a promise. And when you look at the initial promise that is being made in Genesis 12, now the Lord spoke to Abram. His name isn't yet in the covenant name, but in the shortened version, exalted father. Go forth from your country and from your relatives and from your father's house to the land which I will show you, and I'll make you a great nation. I'll bless you and make your name great. And so you shall be a blessing, and I'll bless those who bless you, and those who make light of you I will utterly curse. I know your version reads slightly different, but that's the more literal rendering of this. And in you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. And what we see here is this is the initial statement that God then starts off with the Abrahamic covenant. And in chapter 13, he separates himself from Lot, and Lot chooses the best of the land for himself, namely the Jordan Valley. But Abraham still has to rescue Lot because he gets himself into a whole lot of trouble. And at this point, he meets Melchizedek, and God then reconfirms the covenant with him. And that's in chapter 15, verses 1 to 21. And that's that Abrahamic covenant in its fullness. And there he says in verse 6, then he believed in the Lord, and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. So faith is the key thing here. And he said to him, I am the Lord who brought you up out of the land of Ur, of the Chaldeans, to give you this land to possess it. And so the land that he's now possessing is all of the land, in verses 18 onwards, from the river of Egypt as far as the great river of Euphrates. Now at this point he then mentions some of the people, and the Hittites at this point are the people who live in what we would call today Turkey. So it would include the lands of Turkey up to the Euphrates River, coming down, which would include the land of Syria, Lebanon, part of Jordan, Israel, part of the Sinai, at least maybe all of the Sinai, and including a small part of Egypt. That's what God promised Abraham. And so he will receive that. He's never received that because all he owned in the end was that small burial cave where he buried Sarah. And so in that sense, this is a literal promise that God has made to one specific person. Later on he reconfirms that. And he confirms that to Isaac initially in chapter 26, and then later on to Jacob, and then later on to the sons of Israel in Genesis 49. And so all of this is promised to them as a nation, but as an individual, he still needs to receive this land. And so while he won't be king, David will be king in the land. Christ will be over all the earth and specific over Israel. David will be a prince. If you read through Ezekiel, it mentions both him as king and as prince. And so he'll be a ruler within the land. As will Abraham. Abraham will receive this land. And so he will be a landowner at that point. And the Jewish people will be, during the millennial kingdom, dwelling in that land with him. But he'll be the landowner. I hope he has some real estate for me. Does that?
Yeah, I guess I didn't get where you were saying you'd have to bring him back to life.
Yeah,
So
because he's never fulfilled this promise to Abraham, God therefore has to fulfill this promise. Now he can do this two ways. He can either bring him back to life or not. But if he doesn't bring him back to life and he doesn't resurrect Abraham, then God is a liar because he promised him this land, but he never fulfilled it.
So this is the millennial kingdom.
This is the millennial kingdom. And so in the millennial kingdom, he will be raised back to life, or before the millennial kingdom. And so during that time, he will physically walk and talk in the land.